Hello, hello. I am Arielle Silver, your host of Tomes and Tunes, this weekly show that started right near the beginning of the COVID pandemic lockdown last year, and we are in our 63rd episode now. I am very happy to welcome to the show this week Canadian songwriter Drea Lake, and I'm going to bring her on in just a couple of minutes. But first, I have a couple things to share with you. First of all, I want to introduce you to my new t shirt. I've already cut the neck off and the sleeves off because that's the way I roll. But this is a brand new shirt. It's got a cat. It's got capo noir, shub capos in black. And the reason I'm showing off this fancy shirt with the cut off top is because I am now an official Shubs capo artist, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to add this thing and show you. Oops, not that thing. Let's try this again. Do do do. Learning how to use technology. Let's see if I can do that. Nope, can't do it. Oh, there it is. I thought I couldn't, but look at that. I'm learning new technology all the time. So, got this little graphic, and I'm super excited. They sent me a box today with this t-shirt and also some Shub Capo stickers. I just want to talk about this capo for a second because it's a little bit different than the one I used to use a long time ago when I first got this capo. I was like, man, it doesn't clip to the end of my guitar. But what I really love about this capo is that I can put it anywhere on the neck and it stays in tune. All the way up, all the way down, take it off. So I am super excited about this new relationship with Shub capos. Also, in this package that I got today is another capo that I haven't yet had a chance to use, but I'm super excited about this one too. It's a little bit shorter than this one that I used to capo all the strings on the neck. This one is a 5/4 string capo. So I'm going to be playing around with that. You might hear some new songs on that coming in shortly. What else do I have to tell you? I am playing a show this weekend at Hotel Cafe in Los Angeles, and this show is on Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be live streamed behind a ticket wall. So if you want to come watch the show in venue, put on your fancy mask and come out. I would love to see your eyes blinking in the light of the venue, the beautiful velvet walls, and it's a gorgeous place, listening room, so it'll be pretty quiet in there. And if you are not in Los Angeles, or if you just want to catch the show through a live stream, there are tickets for that as well, and that's the link that's going by at the bottom of the screen. So there's that. And of course, this show is Tomes and Tunes, where we talk about books with songwriters, and we do a little song swap at the end. Drea is a wonderful songwriter who I met, I think, toward the end of 2020 into the beginning of 2021, and we sort of crossed paths a few different times. We ended up in a songwriting workshop with Bonnie J. Baker, who is a phenomenal hit songwriter out of Nashville, and there was a small group of us that she brought together, and we just brought in songs and talked about the songs, and man, they were great nights, all on Zoom, of course, sitting right here. So Drea and I met that way, and then we also ended up sort of crisscrossing paths through the Folk Alliance world around February. So it's about time that I brought her on the show. I'm going to bring her on right now. Hello.
Hi, so great
How
to
are,
be here.
yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful kind of classic summer day here in Montreal.
Yeah, so summer, July in Montreal, sticky, cool, green, what is that like?
Green, a little bit sticky, warm wind. It's not brutally hot this year. It can be, but it's kind of ride your bike weather, I would say, or go to the beach.
Oh. And so you grew up not in Montreal, but not too far away, right?
I grew up in southern Ontario in the country outside of a really small town called Elora, which is actually the only place in the world where two really deep river gorges intersect. So there's a little provincial park. And Elora is about 2 hours northwest of Toronto. So I am about an 8 hour drive away from home, but it
Oh,
doesn't feel
wow.
too far.
Yeah, okay, so that's the famous Elora Gorge that you talk about on your website.
Yes.
And I was wondering, where is that? What is that exactly? It sounded like sort of a landmark thing, and I was going to ask you about it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, okay. So you grew up there, which is not a French-speaking area of Canada. Am I right about that? But now you
Totally
live in a
English.
French-speaking city. Are you bilingual? Do you speak both languages?
I speak both languages. I wouldn't call myself totally bilingual. It's a struggle for me to watch a movie in French without French or English subtitles. So I practice, but I can get by all day in French, and I would like to continue to improve.
Mm.
I do live in a French neighborhood here, which is really nice.
I remember visiting Montreal one day. I lived, well, not one day, it was a couple of days. But when I lived in Boston, I had been to Montreal as a kid and I really wanted to visit it again. So the person I was dating at the time, we just jumped in the car one day and drove up. But I don't know if it's that easy to cross the border now. Well, during COVID, probably not. But I don't, is it that easy to cross back and forth between the US and Canada typically? Or
Um,
do you now need the whole homeland security thing and passports?
I think things were slightly kind of amped up during the whole Homeland Security intensification, but I still think you don't necessarily need a passport for land travel
Oh, right. Okay.
as long as you have a driver's license. I could be wrong about that
Yeah.
because I happen to have a passport.
Yeah, kids,
Um,
don't try this at home.
yeah, check first, but I think that that was still okay. And then of course, now it's like historic that our border has mostly been closed. It's never happened before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I remember back then just crossing over, and it was an epic trip. And I had studied French for years and years and years and could not understand a single word of Canadian
yeah,
French.
the accent is really different. The Quebecois
Yeah.
accent is really different. And I also studied sort of French.
Yeah.
And I have to really slow down to listen to my Quebecois neighbors here because they also speak faster. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah, yeah, but wow, what a gorgeous city, and from my memory, really great pastries as well.
I live near a lot of really great pastries. So if you come back, I'm going to have to take you to the eclair shop that's
Uh,
not too far away
oh,
from my house.
please, yes. That
I have a
sounds.
rule that I can only go there when friends visit, so
Oh,
please come.
I'll help you out. I'll help you out. That's amazing. So you as a songwriter, have you ever written in French? Have you ever tried it?
I would love to write a song in French. I'm a huge fan of a lot of French artists, especially kind of classic artists like George Brassens. I would also even just love her to cover a French song, but I'm not there quite yet. I think I maybe would take a few more years to just really immerse myself in the language before giving that a try, or maybe cover a song first. That would be really nice.
Yeah. Or maybe just like I wonder. I mean, I never have either. So I'm asking you this question that I don't think I've ever tried to write a song in French, but I wonder what would happen with the brain. You know, like just trying to tackle this other language that maybe we don't know as well. From an artistic standpoint, I sort of wonder what happens with that, like sort of writing with your non-dominant hand. You know, that sort of thing.
It's cool thinking about English artists who have written in French. Like Sting has La Belle Dame Sans Regret. And I wonder, did he write that in English and then translate it into French?
Mm.
Or did he honestly start in French? There's a really, really
Mm.
cool Canadian artist, Kathleen Yearwood, who also sometimes writes really beautiful songs in French. And it seems like English is her main language. So yeah, that would be a really, really cool thing to tackle. I'm actually slowly working on a song, um, kind of about the whole like French artist scene around the time of like Rodin, but particularly Camille Claudel. And it feels like that song should really be something I'm writing in French. So thank you for the motivation.
Yeah, or both languages maybe.
Yes, yeah, that would be good too. Or maybe just like the chorus in French or something.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Um, I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
So Drea, when did you start writing songs?
I wrote poetry and songs probably from a really young age. I have all kinds of diaries that are filled with songs from high school. I was a giant fan of Ani DeFranco in high school and really wanted to write like her, but I
What
did
era of she's been? she has so many albums. So what era are we
Oh,
talking?
I think I was 13 years old when I heard her first album,
Oh, the
the
first
Ani
one. Oh,
DeFranco album. So I think
right.
she must be like 6 or 7 years older than me or something. But
Oh,
um, I didn't really have a sense of like song structure or how would you write a song. It took me a really long time to kind of maybe want to put songs out in the world and understand that. So
yeah.
I continued to write songs for many years, but it was when I started some online courses with Berkeley that I got more of a sense on how to finish a song and
Yeah.
write more.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think of songwriting and other types of writing as chair making sometimes.
Hmm.
If I sit in chairs all the time. I've been hearing songs my whole life, but
Yeah,
until you really like sit and look at the chair, you don't know how it's stable, like how you can actually sit down and put weight on it and it doesn't collapse under you, or how to make it comfortable or aesthetically pleasing, or any, like there's just so many things when you think about what it would actually take to make a chair. And when I came to songwriting, I didn't give any of those things any thought at all. It was like, oh, just write a song. And it wasn't for a long time that I started to understand, like, oh yeah, there are these pieces that, like you put together so that it's structurally sound, or so that it achieves whatever aesthetic you're looking for it to achieve, or whatever the purpose of the song is, or the feel of the song.
that's such a great analogy. Yeah, I think it was somehow unimaginable to me that I would like put my feelings into some sort of a structure.
Mm,
Um, and I
mm,
somehow just, it's weird. Like I think it just takes a long time to learn, how to bring all of that together. But that's such a cool analogy. I love it.
yeah, huh. Yeah, and so this year you've been writing a lot, I think.
Hmm.
Um, because we met during the Bonnie J. Baker workshop. Were you in the ASCAP one as well? That was sort of that was the precursor to me of her other workshop, was the ASCAP workshop. Were you in that?
I actually had FOMO because I missed that, and that's why I
Oh,
connected with her. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that workshop, and so then I reached out and was like, please take me too for your
oh,
future events.
I love it. And so before that, even you were taking these Berkeley songwriting classes. Have you written a lot this year? For me, 2020 was, I wrote a lot at the beginning of 2020, but as soon as the pandemic hit, I stopped writing. I didn't write for the rest of the year really until the very, very end. And then at 2021, once the calendar turned, I was able to start writing again. What was your experience with all of this?
That's kind of interesting. I mean, I feel like writing a song for me actually takes a really long time, and so um, I have about probably 50 songs on the go, and maybe another 10 or 11 with people I'm co-writing with. So there was stuff from the past that I was able to gradually bring along, and I also felt that the pandemic gave me more time to create my first music video and
Oh,
that kind of thing. I did start new songs too, but I agree it's been like a little harder to focus
yeah.
um, than it was prior. But there are new songs that have been coming along as well, and maybe ones too where there's been a chance to get a different perspective on a few things.
Tell me about that video. You made it during COVID?
Yeah, so I'm like getting foggy on the dates of when I put everything out. But yeah, the music video happened during COVID in the fall of last year. We had to shoot it outside as a result. And I worked with some really talented videographers and um, producers. So we shot everything in kind of the east end of Toronto in a really beautiful park, and they sort of found places where I could sit in trees and do various things. And then we briefly were inside in a studio, but that room was like ginormous, and so it felt like we could practice social distancing. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that I did for that video is I put a call out to a lot of different visual artists to submit birds. And so a big part of that video is like 8 or 9 different visual artists actually have birds that they've done interwoven in the video. So
Beautiful. I'm gonna put a link to that video in the chat box at some point. Maybe I'll wait till the end of the show so I can grab it online. But that's awesome. I love that. When did that video come out? Do you remember?
I should know. I think it came out at the beginning part of this year.
Okay.
So it's something that we shot in the fall, and then I sort of decided to wait until after the holidays to release it, and we did like a fun little draw that went with it and all that stuff. It was a really lovely time.
That's amazing. Um, I shot a video also during COVID.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to see it.
It was about 2 weeks, 2 weeks after the Los Angeles lockdown. So, scroll back in time. I try to do this exercise in my mind, every so often, which is to remember what we felt like, what I felt like at the very, very beginning of all of this. It was a it was a different feeling, a different internal state for me. So, and I think for a lot of people, everything was unknown, right,
Hmm.
during that time. We didn't exactly know how easily you could catch COVID, under what circumstances. People were talking about, do you need to wear a mask outdoors? And what situation outdoors do you need to wear a mask in? Like, is it if you're in a busy city like New York City, you're passing people on the sidewalk every 2 seconds? Or is it, if you're 6 feet away from someone outside, are you good? And so 2 doors down from me is a filmmaker, Kevin Rhodes,
Cool.
and he shot my video for What Really Matters. We did that before COVID. And then 2 weeks into the lockdown here, we decided to shoot a video for Headlights. And so that song, already I had imagined that I would be in a car. So I was in the car for, I think, for all of the shooting of me in the video, and the window was up. And he was sometimes right outside the window, and sometimes he was like 10 feet away, pretty far away. But we didn't know how catching this was. So he was playing the song Headlights on his iPhone outside the car so that he could know what he was shooting when. And I was craning my ears to hear the song so that I could lip sync it inside the car with the window all the way up. But it was, I felt really great that we were doing it. It was a piece in that time of sort of staying connected with the bigger vision despite what was going on, and doing it in a safe way. It was a crazy time.
Yeah, it has been a crazy time, and I also feel different in both of our countries as well.
Yeah,
Like stressful in both places, but in different ways, and
yeah.
maybe even more stressful in the United States in some ways. So um, I'm
I
glad
think
at least we're not totally in the thick of it anymore.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's right. I forget how different just crossing the border, how different it was over there, than it was over here, especially during that time. It was
Hmm.
very fraught. So have you started venturing out? Are you performing in front of people at this point? Are you staying indoors? What are you doing?
Um, I think it's just almost natural that now I just have all of these live online venues that I would like to play because there's all these wonderful services that have popped up. And the other thing is that now that places are opening up and starting to offer live shows, I just have this just instinctive feeling that every musician in the world is probably going to want to play those first couple of months. And so a part of me has just kind of been feeling like I'll just continue to play the live online shows for a little while, just till people like kind of get it out of their system.
Yeah.
But I am starting to look at some house concerts and maybe booking a tour for next year. And I certainly have no, I think as long as it was like a safe venue, people were far enough away from each other and all of that stuff, I would be fine with it. A lot of people are vaccinated now, so.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm playing this show this weekend on Saturday, and it's all masks. Everybody has to wear a mask inside.
Hmm.
As a performer, they ask that we wear masks until we are on the stage.
Hmm.
And, if we're singing, of course, we can't wear a mask. And I feel like I'm vaccinated. A lot of Los Angeles. I'm hoping that music lovers who come out to these shows, I hope that they recognize how important it is to be vaccinated, both for their health, but also for the health of the performers and,
Mhm.
those folks who can't wear masks at a particular time. You know, crazy
I
time.
know, it is crazy. It is crazy times for sure.
Okay, so for me, part of what got me through life in general up to this point, and including the pandemic as we've been making our way through, is reading. I've always been a book lover my whole life. My folks, they would tuck me into bed or send me up to go to sleep, and then I would crawl out so that I was lying halfway between my bedroom and the hallway so that I could use the hallway light to read my book.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Yeah, I never thought of a flashlight. I know that that's the way it's shown in movies with the kid under the blankets with the flashlight. I don't remember ever having a flashlight, using a flashlight, but I used the hallway light. And then I could hear them because we had a multi-level house, so I could hear them if they started to come upstairs. I would scramble back to bed. I think that they don't know I was doing that, and I know from this perspective of being an adult now that they probably knew what was going on. But I was a voracious reader. So what about you? I've had guests on the show who tell me that they don't read generally, and that just being on the show brought them to reading a book. They hadn't opened a book in a long time, and I have other guests who are just tearing through books all the time, like I am. What are you like?
I think I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, a lot of my spare time at the moment I do devote to like listening to music or playing music. However, I always usually have sort of 4 or 5 books on the go. It might be something that I sort of work on for a year or something that I devour much more quickly. And I definitely, started life reading voraciously, and now it just feels like now I have to share that time with like my love
Yeah,
of music as well. So
I know. Yeah, it's one of those things you can't actively listen to music and actively read a book at the same time.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
It's like too much
So
processing power is going on for either of them. Yeah.
totally. But yeah, no, I've been reading a lot of books, and I feel like I don't know, the pandemic brought out of me like just this curiosity for things that were a little out of my normal wheelhouse, I guess.
Oh.
So there's a bunch of kind of odd books on my shelves these days, which is cool too.
Well, what would you say your wheelhouse is?
I mean, I think normally I read a lot of poetry. I read a lot of mysticism, and then I would read kind of, especially classic literature, like Steinbeck or Virginia Woolf, and that kind of thing. And then I'd occasionally venture into a newer novel, or also sort of cultural criticism, like people like Bell Hooks and stuff like that. But it's like my inner child, just kind of like during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I've been reading about Vikings and the band Wham, and like just kind of stuff that I probably wouldn't have normally picked up in the same way.
So what are you reading right now? What do you want to share with us?
I'm reading a pretty amazing book that I feel like is probably something I could read many, many times. It's called The Children of Ash and Elm. It's by Neil Price, who I believe has been a Viking anthropologist for 30 years. And reading the book, it just feels as though he had Vikings as roommates.
Huh.
It's unbelievable to me how um, empathetic and embodied his description is of like these very different people from a very different time.
Huh.
So I've been pretty fascinated by that, and um, there's so much in it. Even just sort of the first chapter is filled with kind of, it feels like sort of 200 really, really fascinating things. But I wrote down a few of them specifically for this talk, so I wouldn't actually get them half wrong.
Yeah, do share, do share. I'm still laughing, by the way, at the fact that I didn't even draw attention to the fact that you said, yeah, Vikings and Wham. Like,
Vikings and
oh yeah,
Wales.
like that's normal. That's
Beside me here, this is the 13th century Icelandic sagas, which is like the oral history of the basically the not just the Vikings, the Scandinavians, but also some of the people who were Vikings. And then there's this vintage George Michael. You can't actually even buy this; you have to buy it used. It's his super cool, like I guess autobiography biography. And then Andrew Ridgeley's story of Wham. Could somehow these come together to be one. I don't know, probably not. But
Never. I just want to say to anybody watching that this is the only place I think on planet Earth where you will find these two things together.
totally, both really amazing stories. I love both of them. But um, so first of all, one of the things that he explains is that the Viking concept of the soul was that there were almost four different souls within one person, almost like four different completely different personalities, which I found super fascinating. Apparently, this was also a pagan thing from other religions like Celtic people, but I don't know anything about that. And one of the four was called Filja, or the follower. And for every person, male, female, or I'm assuming trans, there was a female spirit inside of them, which was called a protector, that sort of followed them through the life and protected them. And then I guess when they passed away, moved on to somebody else in their ancestral line.
Hmm.
So that's one of the four. Another one of the four is your luck, and your luck had its own spirit and could leave the body and like travel around. So those were a couple of the many fascinating facts in that book.
Wow. Do you have a passage to share with us or tell us more about the
Oh
book?
yeah, I
Give us
actually have a
more.
really beautiful passage for you here. This is about sort of the creation of the world, and everything is born from a tree, which, as a nature lover, I just completely adore this. However, I just have to find the right passage here. I don't want to take up too much time doing this. Um, let's see. I've highlighted a number of things for you, and now it occurs to me that I should have maybe had this quote like called up. Um, okay. Well, I can't find that, but I will read you a really beautiful passage from, this is Snorri, from Edda. So this would have been somebody from this like 13th century book. First of all, that a winter will come called Filmble winter. Then snow will drift from all directions. Then there will be great frosts and keen winds. The sun will do no good. There will be three of these winters together and no summer in between. Black become the sun's beams in the summers that follow, weathers all treacherous. And basically, another thing that he explains in this book,
Hmm.
which I just found really fascinating, is that there were some volcanic eruptions during the time that covered the whole earth in ash, and particularly impacted Scandinavia because it was already so dark. And so 50% of the population died, and this is where the Viking kind of religion came out of. And so even their sort of like spiritual tradition now um, has this kind of story of everything being covered by a dark ash, which is pretty creepy, but maybe also explains some of the more disturbing trends that came out of the Viking Age and probably contributed to colonialism as well. Um, but I will keep searching for the other passage. But what about you? What are you reading?
Um, that's very interesting to me what you just said about the ash and the volcanic eruptions, the darkness, the three winters you said. Um, have you read the novel by Elizabeth Gilbert called The Signature of All Things?
No, that's such a beautiful title.
It is a beautiful title. The protagonist is a botanist, um, living around the same time, little bit younger, but living around the same time as Charles Darwin. And it's an epic novel. It takes place really from the time of her birth, but then the first chapter or second chapter, the story scrolls back to give the background of her father. And it's Elizabeth Gilbert has a really beautiful facility with words. She just always astounds me, and the story is told really beautifully. But over the course of the entire novel, it follows this woman's life basically, and it takes her to Tahiti. She's born in Philadelphia, and trying to remember if her father is from the father from the Netherlands. Her family, I believe, is from the Netherlands, and so at some point when she's an adult, she travels to Tahiti and then comes back to Europe, and it, the book ends either when she dies or just shortly before she dies as an old woman.
Wow.
Um, and I learned a bit of history that I didn't know when I was reading this book. And one of the pieces had to do with a more recent eruption, but in the early 1800s, late 1700s, early 18.
Wow.
I think it was around 1814, maybe. Volcanic eruption that um, destroyed crops, and the livelihood, and many people died as well because there just was no summer that year. It was the year of
Hmm.
no summer. So your passage, your little factoid there reminded me of that.
Oh,
Um,
that's wild.
yeah. Um, and then I was of course thinking about this time of COVID, and here we are in our the second summer of COVID. Um, we have yet to see how the winter will play out. But
Hmm. So
interesting.
true.
I am reading, or about to start, I should say. This has been on my night table for a long time. I just finished The Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I'm taking a little foray into rereading for the first time since I first read them, the Harry Potter books.
Oh,
I
cool.
did not want to bring them onto the show, but I just have to confess that I've restarted that. Oh no, I lost my page here. But this has been on my bedside table for a while, and so I feel like this is the next thing that I'm going to be tackling. It has a very shiny cover, so I don't think I can hold it up. But it's a translation of the Odyssey by Homer by Emily Wilson. I believe this is the first translation by a woman to be
Oh,
published,
wow, cool.
by maybe the first translation by a woman, or maybe just the first one to be published by a major publisher. But it's out on Norton. Came out a few years ago, maybe 10. I think more recently than that, actually. And it got a lot of, oh yeah, 2018, so much more recently. And it got a lot of really phenomenal reviews. And I read a passage in one of the reviews online and have just been intrigued by it ever since. So I finally picked it up a little bit before the pandemic hit, I think. But then I went into this other journey. I read a lot of Toni Morrison. I just went into this other world. I want to share the very beginning because that's as far as I've gotten, is the pretty much the first 10 lines of this. But I love I like the idea of translation. First of all, I like the idea that there's an original writer of something, and then a translator shows up who very likely is not working side by side with that original writer. That original writer is probably dead, and or doesn't speak the language of the translator. And I like this idea of sort of co-creating something, having a partner
Hmm.
in this artistic creation that is not there, where the translator's job is, it can be contradictory, I think, at times, because they're interpreting the meaning, but they also are tasked with the job of retaining or creating the voice of the original writer, perhaps, or changing the voice depending on what the job is. So anyway, I'm fascinated by the idea of multiple translations of a single text. So here's the very beginning of the Odyssey, according to Emily Wilson. Tell me about a complicated man. Muse, tell me how he wandered and was lost when he had wrecked the holy town of Troy, and where he went, and who he met, the pain he suffered in the storms at sea, and how he worked to save his life and bring his men back home. He failed to keep them safe, poor fools. They ate the sun god's cattle, and the god kept them from home. Now, goddess, child of Zeus, tell the old story for our modern times. Find the beginning. And so I'll
That's
just leave it at
beautiful.
that. Yeah.
I found this quote. Do you want me to read it that I
Please.
saved?
Yeah.
So, this is about the first man, according to sort of the Viking mythology. In the beginning there had been nothing but the grassless void of Ginugapap, an emptiness that stretched forever. Though not quite empty, for deep within it lay a sleeping potential, a power and presence inside the absence, waiting to be awakened. To the north was the icy space of Niflheim, the dark world. To the south lay Muspelheim in flames. Rivers of poison, the Elivgar, flowed from a spring in Niflheim and froze in Ginuagap. I'm massacring that word. As the sparks from Muspel's fires met this ice, it began to melt, and in the process change, the slowly falling droplets taking shape and form. The first being in all creation was made, the frost giant Ymir. He was soon joined by something else, something very different, and her name was Athumbla, a great hornless cow that shambled about in the vacancy. Her milk kept the giant alive. Wow.
Wow.
Different creation story than the one I was raised with.
Wow, yeah.
So, but for anybody out there who's a songwriter, I really recommend these books. They're amazing. It's like such a testament to people who put their life into their music in a way, or their friendship into their music. And, you know, we just have this hilarious image of Wham because they were such a quintessentially 80s band, but it is a beautiful and fun story as well. So,
Well, I would hope that it would be a fun story, because they were a fun band, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
I wish I was them as teenagers.
But instead, you were listening to Ani DeFranco as a teenager,
Which was really
and
good too.
yeah.
Probably changed my life.
Okay, Drea, do you have some music to play for us today?
I do, and thanks
Yay.
again for having me, and just also for even putting on a show like this 63 times where we can. It's amazing. All right, so this is my song "Bird in Your Window." It's my first debut single.
And this is the one with the video, right?
Yes, this is the one with the music video too. Blushing at my crush in my mirror, swooning kid in the glass. Is this really me? Your kindness comes back clear like something sweet to a honeybee. I raise my gaze to the heavens, oh, but the memory of your brown eyes only grows. And this bird in your window, she sure adores you. Bird in your window knows this is all true, knows you're a stranger, won't feel the danger. She don't want you to go. Your laugh accelerates the length of time love takes. It's like you make me more me, I make you more you. You take to flight, but I can't blur your mesmeric big sky hues. And this bird in your window, she sure adores you. Bird in your window knows this is all true, knows you're a stranger, won't feel the danger. Oh, she don't want you to go. Oh, and I don't wanna let this moment slip away. Sometimes the only way to fly is fall, and to fall is to pray. Bird in your window, I sure adore
I love the harmonic movement of that song and the constant pushing of that rhythm from the guitar. It keeps moving you along. It's very I don't know. There's like a soothingness, like when you're rocking a baby or something like that. When you're just in that constant motion like that,
Oh,
really
well, thank
lovely.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
I put a link to the video up in the chat box.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, anybody who watches the video, please let me know what you thought, and thank you so much for checking it out. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Drea, you just reminded me that I'm trying to get better at this, and so thank you. I played a show a couple of months ago. It was an online showcase. Bruce Swan and Louise Baker. Music My Mother Would Not Like is the name of the
Oh my
series. It's
gosh,
every week.
what a
Have you
great
caught it?
title. I
Oh, I
haven't yet
know.
seen that. I've got to find that.
It's so great, and they have really wonderful songwriters every week. It happens on Tuesdays. And one thing that I loved is Bruce is a longtime radio host. He just recently left WPKN out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and now I forget where he's broadcasting out of now, in Asheville, North Carolina. But one thing I loved about playing that show was that I learned from Bruce what really great advocacy is for independent music, because while hosting the show, he was excellent at sort of educating all the attendees on how to best support indie
Oh,
musicians. And so, just now, something about what you just said about the video, folks, if you watch the video, make sure that you subscribe to Drea's YouTube channel, and also find her on Spotify. And if you're interested in finding out where she's playing, do you have a mailing list?
I do actually, yes.
So there you go. Um, so join her mailing list. I'm reminded sometimes, I think randomly, about MySpace. If anybody remembers MySpace, and how years and years ago I was on tour, and some of the ways that I ended up getting booked for gigs was through my MySpace world. And I wasn't the best MySpace user, just like I'm not the best Facebook or Instagram user, but it was still a really wonderful way for people to connect with the music and find out about me as an artist, and then to book me at their venues. And of course, we know what happened to MySpace. Um,
Mhm.
you know, and so Facebook, we think it's this behemoth that could never fall. I don't know what I'm wishing for, that it will or won't, but in any case, you
They're
know,
going to.
we forget that everything that happens on Facebook is Facebook's, and so the best way to stay in touch with the artists that you love, or the venues that you love, and when I say artists, I'm talking about musical artists, of course, but also all kinds of artists, is for to find us outside of just the social platforms, and at the same time to follow us on the social platforms, because that's sort of the way that things happen nowadays. I think, Drea, when I got in touch with you about being on this show, I think I messaged you on Instagram, right?
You totally did. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So it's like these are like totally valid ways to contact each other, but of course we're all at the whim of the algorithms, and what I just happened to see your post on that particular day, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to Drea for a while to be on the show, but on another day I might not see what you post. So anyway, that was my. I feel like I'm trying to get on this soapbox more often, although I'm still not as eloquent as I hope to be about
Well,
it.
thank you.
But
I appreciate the support very much.
yeah. Um, so this show is a little bit shorter today because you are off to go teach. You have some students, and I'm just really glad that we were able to have this conversation. So I won't keep you delayed from your students, but thank you for joining us, for sharing a little bit about your world in the Montreal, um, the neighbor upstairs and a little bit to the right from where I am in Los Angeles. It's really great to connect with you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. And I know you normally play a song, so I'm going to be, as soon as possible, checking out another one of your songs. You write beautiful music, so
Oh,
I look
thank you.
forward to that.
Yeah, thank you, Drea. And we'll connect on social media or off social media again.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And for everybody else here, please do take that to heart. Follow Drea, follow me. All the guests that I have here every week, every single one of them is an independent artist, and just trying to navigate this world, which is constantly changing. And when I say that, I mean, of course, the big world, but also the world of music. I think I will play a song on the way out, just to send you on your way. It's a little bit shorter of a show today. And I do have this, speaking of shows, I do have a show coming up at Hotel Cafe on Saturday. And one of the interesting things that has developed out of this, longest year ever, the pandemic, is that venues some of them have outfitted themselves with the ability to live stream shows. Not all venues, of course, but I'm really glad to be playing one of those venues this weekend, Hotel Cafe, live streaming from the stage, and also there's going to be an in-venue audience. If you're local to LA and if you're vaccinated and you have a fancy mask that you want to show off, put that mask on, come on down, I would love to see you. And if you're not in Los Angeles, or you're not vaccinated, or you just want to stay in your pajamas and cuddle with your puppies and kittens, you can still watch the show. I would love to see you in the live stream. I'll be on stage this weekend for the first time ever with an upright bass player. I've never performed as a duo before. I've only ever played, I think that's a true statement, I gotta think about it a little longer, but I'm pretty sure I only ever play solo or with a band or as a trio. I used to tour as a trio, but I have a bass player joining me this weekend, Caitlin Hansen. She plays upright bass primarily, and she'll play electric bass for a couple of the tunes. This is one of the ones that we're gonna play this weekend, but I'll do it solo for you right now. Let's see here. You're getting the whole picture here. Let me just adjust my camera. There we go. I wish I was up a little so the guitar is actually visible. Let's see if I can do that. A little bit better. Showing off my new Shub Capo t-shirt with my Capo Noir cat. I love this t-shirt. Gonna be one of my favorite items of clothing. You'll probably see it again, but let's see here. So, of course, the pandemic brought me into the shed and pretty much everyone into their houses, or, wherever you ended up working and sequestering and hunkering down. Of course, there were many people that were going out to the hospitals or other places of work, taking care of all of us in that way. And I'm so grateful to all those essential workers. During the pandemic, one of the things that I learned was both patience, really just allowing things to unfold and work their way through as they needed to, and also carpe diem. I was grateful for the adventures that I had had pre-pandemic, because I had a feeling it was going to be a while before I got out into the world again. And I'm eager as we start to be able to get out there safely to have some more adventures. This song is about a single night. I was just thinking about being present, being really present. And it started with the imagery of a raccoon rustling in a garbage can. Let me just make an adjustment here. There we go. And turn up my headphones a little bit so I can hear myself. There we go. And if you are tuning in, say hi in the chat box. I love it when I see you, when I can say hi back to you. Hi, Carmen. Thanks for being here. So this is a song called Bottle Up Tonight, and I'll be playing it this weekend at Hotel Cafe with Caitlin Hansen on bass. And that show, Abby Posner is also going to be on the bill that night, and she's going to join us for a tune or two on mandolin. Hi, Susie Bame. Long time no see. Nice to see you. Been thinking about you over there in Texas. Stay safe. This is a song called Bottle Up Tonight. One part alabaster moon, one part rustling old raccoon. There's the chord. Let's try that again. One part alabaster moon, one part rustling old raccoon, one part whispers of a breeze, one part heady jasmine bloom, one part lonely nightbird tune, one part two heartbeats. Might we make an apothecary potion, or bottle it like Napa wine? Might we capture all we left unspoken, cork it up for future delights? Whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up tonight. Spotlight of a street lamp beam, shadows dancing in between, familiar as an old refrain. All the stories of the past, the future ones that come too fast, off the edges of the frame. Might we make an apothecary potion, or bottle it like Napa wine? Might we capture all we left unspoken, cork it up for future delight? Whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up whatever time might hold, whatever fate unfolds, forget all that we can't control. But let's bottle up So that is Bottle Up Tonight. If you are in Los Angeles, I hope that I will see you this weekend on Saturday night at 7 p.m. at Hotel Cafe. And if you are not in Los Angeles, I hope that you will tune into the live stream. You have to get tickets for both of them. It's not going to be broadcast on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. You got to get tickets for that. And that link is going right through on the ticker that's going by there. Let's see if I can put it up in the on the screen a little more obviously. linktr.ee/ArielleSilver. You will be able to get your link right from there to the Hotel Cafe ticket page. I would love to see you. Hotel Cafe was one of those venues, like I think 100% of the other ones, that we wondered, is it going to be able to make it through the pandemic? And it's also one of the legendary Los Angeles clubs. It has been a great supporter of independent music for a long time now. It's also a listening room, so you can go there to hear songwriters play, and we're not shouting over cappuccino machines, and we're also not shouting over, sports newscasters. There are no TV screens in the room. It is just the stage, the bar, and the sound booth, and then the folks coming out to see the show. So I would love to see you at the show or to sing for you via the live stream. I want to say also thank you to 88.5 KCSN. Mookie, the program director, played my song What Really Matters this Monday, this past week. What Really Matters. I say this past week, but we're only on Thursday, huh? It was on Monday, and that was really awesome. So one of those little highlights that I was very excited about. I want to tell you who the guest is for next week's episode 64, but I forgot to write it down. And I cannot remember if it is Celia Chavez. It might be next week, but I forgot to look. So we'll just leave it at that. She's coming up soon, if not next week, in a week after that or one after that. What else can I tell you? I think that's all. You're probably done. So I'm probably done. That's all we got today. It's Thursday. It's almost coming up on the 3 o'clock hour here in Los Angeles. I will see you next week, same time, 2 p.m. Pacific. For whoever is the guest on the show, I hope that you stay safe. I hope that you wear your masks and all your loved ones are safe. I also hope that you're finding some delight in this crazy world. I will see you soon. Take good care.